you for staying with us right here on Nationwide 90 FM. You're listening to This Morning. I'm Danielle Archer.
And I'm Tauna Thomas.
We're joined this morning by Dr. Angela Brownberg, sharing with us the People's National Party's position in respect to the seating arrangements for Mr. Wright. And before the break, Dr. Brownberg, I'd thrown to you the issue of whether the time would not have been better spent or is best spent focusing on a code of conduct or some form of facility or guideline that would be able to handle this situation which arises not just on the part of the Jamaica Labour Party, but also on the part of other members of the House itself. Could you share with us your view on that?
I am delighted to do so. You are absolutely correct. And that is the reason why, as we speak, there are two motions that have already been tabled. One by the Leader of Opposition introducing a recall, the notion of recall, and another by the Leader of Opposition Business in the House asking for the whole matter of what we are talking about to be taken to a committee, including for us to begin to look at a code of conduct. So I also believe that if we saw, for example, that the government, since they have the responsibility of placing or bringing these motions to committee, if they would move with alacrity, then I certainly would believe that they are sincere in actually ensuring that we were at a position where it was clearer what to do in these circumstances, that they are clearly, that we as a parliament are clearly frowning on such actions, that we are moving to establish a code of conduct that would say, if these things, if your members are involved in these things, then here is the recourse. Or the recall notion which has been set out by the Leader of Opposition Business. But remember now, it is a motion that begins our discussion, which means that the discussion, and we would treat it like we do any other joint select committee, which would be to invite interested parties to make proposals, to give feedback on the bill that is before us, and hopefully we'll treat that as well with some sense of urgency, so that we can end up having a recall structure or mechanism in place, given where we are. The absence of any discussion on that, any notion from the government of bringing those two motions to discussion, tells us that they are not serious, and all of this is really just publicity stuff.
I could perhaps flip it to you as well, Dr. Brownberg, because the elephant in the room is, in light of what you're saying about the alacrity and the approach by the government, on both sides, both the Jamaica Labour Party, which is the ruling party, and the opposition party, have individuals there whose activities have been frowned upon by the general public. In the absence of a code of conduct at this time, and in recognition of the parliamentary system which says the ruling party sits in one area and those who are not a member of the ruling party would sit on the other area, why waste parliamentary time talking about seating arrangements when we don't have the facility that has an independent area or an independent bench or another area for other parties?
That's also not quite true, in the sense that there are two empty benches on the opposition side, and there are 3 empty benches on the government side. You would note that the parliament really is packed, and that is true. We are almost beyond capacity at this point. And so wherever Mr. Wright is going to be seated, you are going to have to find a way of making the distinction between the sides where he sits. On the side of the government benches, for example, there is actually a couple of benches along the wall from the door going back. Yes, along there. And therefore, if we're going to talk about share space, there are 3 spaces over there, there are 2 spaces over here. I believe that the discussion that we are having is putting more light onto how important the whole issue that has sparked this. Let's not forget, it is not simply about the seating matter. It is also about a member who has returned to the parliament in the face of serious allegations and who has not thought it necessary to utter one single word even in his defense, or to bring, to say, I did it, I am sorry, here's what is happening, I did not do it, nothing. And I believe, we feel very strongly that the government should not proceed without more. The government has been speaking on his behalf. He has refused to speak. And everything we have heard so far that would tell us what Mr. Wright's position is has come from none less than the General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Dr. Brown,
that said very clearly that he is not an independent member.
Dr. Brown,
it's also a matter of principle.
I know you just said serious allegations. I note your party's objections. I'm hearing it to George Wright sitting among the opposition among your ranks. But Mr. Wright has not been charged. However, currently sitting on the opposition benches are two people: a member of parliament, a VP of your party who was criminally charged a few years ago for allegedly beating a woman, charged with occasioning bodily harm, and also a female MP who was charged for allegedly slapping a man in his face. Why are you comfortable with sitting of those two people and not George Wright when the police didn't find enough evidence to charge him, contrary to your two MPs?
Mm-hmm. So let's look at the cases that are before us. The one that has not yet been resolved, as I know it, because it's a matter that is currently before court. And
we're interrogating the principles here.
Right.
No, but of course, all of that is part of the principle. I'm not suggesting that a mere allegation is what puts him out. I'm not saying that at all. But I start with the notion that if there is an allegation, you have a responsibility to those amongst whom you sit, and to the public, and to those who have elected you to serve them in the parliament, to say, listen guys, I did not do this. Yes?
Did any of those charged... Hold a second though, Dr. Brownberg, because we have to make that distinction. You're saying that one person is expected to say, I am sorry, and to do the right thing. Have the persons who are seated with you said they're sorry and done the right thing?
As I know it, one of the individuals, the one that is currently before the courts right now, did the right thing in the sense that the defense that the individual has put forward is that she was basically attacked, and it was in defense that occurred. That is what she is alleging, from my understanding of the case that is before us. I will be honest that I am not totally clear on all the issues surrounding the other matter. I gather, however, that the matter went to court, that it has a ruling has been made, yes, and that the individual, because the matter has gone through the courts, would have completed the remedies that were prescribed.
But then again, Dr. Brownberg, having gone through the courts, if there is nothing for the courts to do, there would have been no charges laid. Why would you then infer that there is something to be done when the court system has nothing to act upon? In the case of Mr. Wright.
Very simple. Because the court system has nothing to act upon because Mr. Wright has refused to cooperate with the police. That's what the police said. The police said that he had brought a statement. The police said two individuals brought statements that would seem to be the incident that we all...
They said they don't have enough evidence.
Nobody said that they weren't cooperating.
However, what they then said is that they were unable to get the two individuals have said that they are not prepared. They will continue no further. And so what that in fact means is that they will go no further because Mr. Wright, as he has done publicly, has not said anything more privately to the police. And that is the reason why we are not going forward. It is not because the police, they have done all their investigations, they have spoken to all the individuals who would have pertinent information, and based on the information that they are given, there is nothing more to do. That's not the case. It is because the individuals have not cooperated any further to allow them to go forward. And we cannot ignore that, especially given the issue we are talking about and how often we know that it is not because it did not happen why they do not go further.
Wrapping Dr. Brownberg. So even though the House Speaker has made her ruling, you will continue to object this arrangement of Mr. Wright sitting on the opposition benches.
Where we are, the Speaker has the right, in based on how we have been operating, of doing that in consultation, of course, with the opposition, the leader of opposition business, in respect of the seats that are taken. And so we cannot prevent her from doing that. But I believe that there's also another principle involved that I believe that we will not relent on in terms of where we go. And so if the Jamaica Labour Party wants us to be silent, bring the two motions, allow us to have the discussion, let us as a parliament put in place those things to guide us so that we can then be guided by them.
And to be guided, thank you so much, Dr. Brownberg. You know, there's a principle in law, he who seeks equity must himself do equity. I think if we're asking for things on one side, we must prepare to do it on both sides. Thank you so much for joining us.
We are prepared to do it on both sides.
Actions.
We are prepared to do it.
Actions, Dr. Brownberg. Actions. Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Nationwide this morning.